Nobody works harder. Nobody loves sports and is more passionate about it than this guy, John Allcorn. So thank you.
Man, keep up the good work, man. I like your style.
I don't know if I've seen someone with the drive and passion to make it in the industry like I've seen with you. Cutthroat. It's very, up and down roller coaster of emotion.
He knows his stuff. He's not afraid to go at people.
Well, last time I checked, this is not the Los Angeles LeBron. Great game of Sunday NFL action here. Just wow, technical difficulties, but we are back. Folks, before we do for every single program, let's go into today's prayer break. Or like I tell people, no matter their mistakes, no matter how bad they screw up, you are always here for them. In Jesus' name. Amen. What a great action info Sunday today. Folks, let's get into today's Bible verse and today's Jesus and God story before we go into the NFL action of today. Corinthians 4, verses 16 through 18. So we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away. Our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory behind all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. So despite what it looks like, despite the success you have, despite the people that might try to come at you, none of those obstacles matter as long as we do not lose heart in the Lord. Jesus and God's story before we go into today's NFL action is the story of Lecrae. We're going to kind of summarize it here real quick, folks. Is that Lecrae has had a ton of success, has made a ton of money, and made songs with such great artists all across the hip hop world. Here's something even greater than that. Despite what he's been through, he has not lost heart. Despite the amount of success, the money, the fame, despite all that, he has not lost heart, and he has continued to trust in the Lord and to glorify God in his music and in everything he does, in his YouTube content, his hip-hop music. Despite what people say about him making content, aka music with secular artists, and everything you do it to the glory of God. So no matter what it looks like, no matter what people are saying about Lecrae, no matter what people are saying about you, do not lose heart, because things that are unseen, focus on those and trust in God. And also importantly, combined with all that, is very important to have a community, a fellowship of men and women. But folks, let's get into the NFL action so far. Today, there isn't a lot. There is no amount of words to explain my excitement, my passion, the energy. For this week, in week 2, I was 12-3 for the predictions. Obviously, one of them being the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens game, and we'll get to that one last, as that is the last game of the NFL Sunday recap for the post-game NFL Sunday show here on the God Over Money Entertainment Network. Before we kind of get started here with the NFL All-Pro talk here on the show. If you have any prayer requests, you can text 254-356-6673. 8. Let's get into it here, folks. NFL Sunday here on the day. You had the New England Patriots face off against the New York Jets. There's always a story. There's always things happening. How Bill Belichick destroys rookie quarterbacks, how he tends to embarrass them and to demolish them. But here's the other side of that. What makes it even greater, folks, is that usually when Bill Belichick destroys rookie quarterbacks, he has a veteran quarterback in Tom Brady. The different side of this now, folks, is that Bill Belichick has a rookie quarterback. Mac Jones played really great in this game here moving forward. There's no doubt that Mac Jones is the franchise, keyword, folks, the franchise quarterback for the New England Patriots. When you kind of look at this game, when you kind of look at the numbers really overall, even if numbers don't always tell all of the story, Mac Jones, though, there isn't a lot of high passing yards or like throwing the ball 35, 40, 50 times. Here's the fact of the matter. 22 of 30. 186 yards in the day. The way it is, I think a lot of people saw with how the New England Patriots offense is going to be. Mac Jones is going to be like a great, maybe elite game manager, where he may throw some games 186 yards. The next game, he may throw for 220 or 250 or 300. It can be kind of various all over the place. They're going to rely a lot on the running game and a lot on the defense, and they totally showed that today. And the defense totally destroyed the New York Jets, who, if you look at it, Zach Wilson, I mean, oh my goodness, I know it's only his second game. We don't freak out here. He's a rookie. But he looked terrible. Bill Belichick didn't just embarrass a rookie quarterback. Bill Belichick embarrassed a rookie quarterback with a rookie quarterback. I mean, my goodness here, if you just look at the passing numbers alone for the New York Jets, they are, let's just say, folks, a lack of a word, they're not good. They couldn't score on offense. The offense was just very inconsistent. The offense never got any better. And that was one of the many issues for the Jets here. And you look at Mac Jones, 22 for 30. But if you look at it from the Jets side, Mac Jones had, 3 to 4 interceptions on the day. Mac Jones kept turning the ball over. The New England Patriots defense stepped up. They made Zach Wilson look like a rookie. I give full credit to the New England Patriots defense. I give full credit to New England Patriots offense. Played phenomenal in this game, and it's definitely interesting moving forward. But New England is now 1-1 on the season, and Jets lose and are 0-2 on the day so far here in the AFC East. It's very interesting. Miami losing on the day, and more games we'll get to on tonight's program. The NFL Sunday post-game show. This one makes me, it's exciting. It's a thriller. The Denver Broncos are 2-0. And this is what I've said in my article, and if I could pull up here in just a moment. All the Denver Broncos had to do on the offense, all you had to do was run the football. Let Teddy Bridgewater be the game manager. Rely on the defense, and he can have a Jimmy Garoppolo type of role. Some games he could have 220, 250, 300. But in this game, and we'll get to that in just a moment though, what I said about Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense is that even though Trevor Lawrence was going to be bad against the Houston Texans defense, even though Trevor Lawrence had over 300 passing yards, how well do you think he's going to do as a passer against a much better elite Denver Broncos defense? Trevor Lawrence has been sacked 2 to 3 times in the season. Trevor Lawrence has already thrown 5 interceptions in 2 games, averaging 2.5 interceptions in the first 2 games. Now we can talk about other issues, obviously. Are they really going to address the offensive line? There's obviously a bunch of rumors. Is Urban Meyer really going to be in the long term? He's not used to losing? Definitely going to be a lot of issues. But what you see early on in the first 2 games for the Denver Broncos defense is that Patrick Surtain has already submitted his legacy on the defense. forcing a turnover, making big defensive plays. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. This is just really exciting. So let's get to the Broncos offensive side of this. Like I said, Teddy Bridgewater just needs to be a game manager, and occasionally he'll have a game for like 300, 330, or 250, 280. But in this game, not just alone, Teddy Bridgewater went 26 of 34. Keyword, 26 of 34. 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. Exactly. I was showing in my article. He's going to have those type of games. You also rely on the running game. Defense can do it as long as 3 things happen. The running game is very consistent for the Denver Broncos, not just in this game, but moving forward. And if their defense plays well, as long as the offense can keep up with the defensive production in terms of as long as the offense doesn't turn the ball over consistently and the defense can get the job done on the field, the offensive production at least match half of the defensive production for the Denver Broncos. For example, last year with the Chicago Bears, defense was producing, but the offense wasn't at least matching 50% of the defensive production. We're seeing the opposite of that with the Broncos. Offense is producing, the defense is producing, the running attack is going. Teddy Bridgewater is playing like it's 2 games. We're not going to freak out. We're not going to be like, oh my gosh. But all I'm saying, I'm taking it 1 game at a time. But so far, I am loving what I'm seeing from the Denver Broncos offense. I'm loving what I'm seeing for the defense. I'm loving what I'm seeing for the Denver Broncos so far. It's just 2 games. Keyword, just 2 games so far. It's the Jaguars defense who made Tyrod Taylor look like an MVP caliber like quarterback. Who now Teddy Bridgewater, 592 passing yards through the first 2 games. Corn Son is turning back to be normal. Jerry Judy still out for a couple games. But that's okay. We got young rookie Devontae Williams. We got Melvin Gordon combined. Both running backs had 26 carries. I guarantee the running attack was a little bit off here, but Devontae Williams had 4.9 yards a carry for the Denver Broncos. Hey, this is just the team that I've been saying. As long as they keep doing these keys, like I said in my article that we should hopefully be publishing soon on the MI6 Sports Network. Teddy Bridgewater will be the game manager. Defense and running attack will be the bread and butter. As long as Teddy Bridgewater has a Jimmy Garoppolo type of role, the Denver Broncos are going to have a very fun and productive season. And so far, it is proving so, being 2-0 on the year. It's just through the first 2 weeks, but let's look at the AFC West as we continue the NFL Sunday post-game show. Again, folks, it's just to the first 2 weeks. We are not going to overreact or not that. Oh my gosh. It could change next week. It could change the week after. It could change 2 weeks from now. It could change a month from now. Raiders 2-0, Broncos 2-0, Chiefs 1-1, Chargers 1-1. Even though this is to the first 2 weeks, the AFC West is looking to be a lot more exciting this year than I thought it was going to be. If we look at it from the Jaguars side of this, Trevor Lawrence, you thought he was inaccurate against the Texans. Yes, he threw for over 330 passing yards and had 3 interceptions. You thought he was inaccurate against the Texans? How well do you think he's going to do as a passer against the Denver Broncos defense? Trying to tell people, I think a lot of people would agree with me on that one. Trevor Lawrence not only had 2 interceptions, Trevor Lawrence not only had 1 touchdown, Trevor Lawrence went 14 for 33. 14 for 33 as a passer. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain, 8th overall pick out of Alabama for the Denver Broncos. And another issue for the first 2 games for the Jacksonville Jaguars here, they're not properly giving enough carries to James Robinson. I don't know what type of offense Urban Meyer likes to run. I don't know what the type of better brother they're trying to do. Is it Trevor Lawrence throwing for 30-plus 100 yards a game? And maybe James Robinson gets 15, 18 carries every other game. I don't know. Just making predictions. I don't know the truth. I don't know the reality. The Denver Broncos not only embarrassed, they spanked the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game. If it wasn't for the Trevor Lawrence touchdown, think about it, folks. Be 23-6. 23-6. Again, folks, it is just through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, so anything can happen. But all I'm saying, as a Denver Broncos fan, through the first 2 games, I'm excited to see continuously moving forward what will happen with the Denver Broncos. As we go to the AFC East side of this, folks, Tua went out early in the game with a hip injury. Hopefully it is not too serious. Jacoby Brissett came in with less than 200 passing yards in this game with an interception. And the Buffalo Bills offense, the Buffalo Bills defense, took advantage of the weakness at quarterback for the Dolphins, and the Buffalo Bills took advantage of that on offense and totally destroyed the Miami Dolphins defense. We know the Miami defense is going to be productive this year. We know they're going to get the job done, but the offense can't do match a little bit. But what the defense is doing for the Miami Dolphins is going to be a long year. And with Tua being out for most of this game here, it gave the Buffalo Bills the advantage. 35-0. Jacoby Brissett coming in as the backup. Again, he's just a bridge quarterback for the Miami Dolphins here, but this was obviously a must-win. This was a how-blame win for the Bills moving forward. But don't expect, any NFL fan, don't expect these kind of gains from the Buffalo Bills moving forward. This does help them in the AFC East as the Jets lose today, and of course, they face off against the Miami Dolphins. And of course, Jacoby Brissett, there was an interception to Empire and had a good pass to Mike Gillespie, but unfortunately, it was intercepted. All I have to say, there isn't much to say on this game. Hopefully, Tua is okay. Despite my criticism of any NFL player, any NFL team, or any NFL quarterback, I will never wish ill will on nobody. Hopefully, Tua is okay and will play in week 3 with a great win in Buffalo Bills. It's a perfect advantage, taking advantage of all of the weaknesses for the Miami Dolphins as we go into the next game. You have the San Francisco 49ers playing face off against the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, oh man. Folks, I did this past week pick the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. And I said, despite what Jalen Hurts did last week against the starless Falcons interior defensive line, how is Jalen Hurts and his offense going to handle it against Bosa? You got all these interior defense linemen for the San Francisco 49ers. Is it going to be too much for the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line? Is it going to be too much for Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles and the offense to produce in this game? Just looking at it from the Eagles' point of view. 12-23, not too bad on the day, folks, under 200 passing yards. Compared to what he did last week, I believe over 320 passing yards, or over 20% less passing yards this week alone. The defense got to Jalen Hurts. The defense was able to get pressure on the quarterback, which is something you can't be surprised about. With Bosa, you got all the guys on the interior defense line for the Niners. I believe came on one of the defensive lineers for the San Francisco 49ers. We could be missing some time. Hopefully, it is not too serious. But it shouldn't be a surprise, folks, that the San Francisco 49ers won this game. Let's kind of break it down more for the Eagles offense here. The Eagles were able, Jalen Hurts, though, 2 receptions to the receiver, to Watkins. 2 receptions for 117 yards. 2 receptions for 117 yards. That is absolutely insane. So far, even though it didn't result in the win, you could look at some of the positive plays for Jalen Hurts in the Philadelphia Eagles offense. That's one thing. Jalen Hurts can throw the football. Jalen Hurts has an arm. If he continues to have this substantial success this year in his first year starting for the Philadelphia Eagles, second year in the NFL, second-round pick during 2020 the NFL draft for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts has a bright future. Again, folks, it is just 2 games. Anything can happen. He could have anything type things. It could be a totally different story. Jalen Hurts ran the football effectively well, 8.2 yards per carry. And if it wasn't for Jalen Hurts and his running athletic ability with his legs, you'd be a much closer blowout for the San Francisco 49ers. But if you look at it from the San Francisco 49ers side of this, Jimmy G did exactly what Jimmy G needs to do for the Niners. be a game manager. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to do all these crazy mathematical equations. Like Jimmy G being the game manager, 22 for 30, 189 yards and a touchdown, exactly what they needed to do. You got the running backs involved. You got Hasty for 5 carries and 7.6 yards per carry. Jimmy Garoppolo had a couple of carries. Mitchell had a couple, 17 carries for 2.5 yards a carry. Obviously, moving forward, I guess it is the win for the San Francisco 49ers. But the offense has to be more explosive. The offense has to be more impressive if they want to get a lot more wins on the season, especially being in the toughest division in football in 2021. But a great game, 17-11. This team with Garoppolo goes 22 for 30, 189 yards, and a touchdown. And these last couple of games here, as we finish off for the NFL Sunday post-game show, the Los Angeles Rams faced off against the Indianapolis Colts, and Carson Wentz still isn't 100% healthy. Could be a very good start moving forward. Let's look at it from the Los Angeles Rams side of this. We'll go both sides, continue to talk more NFL here on the God of Our Money Entertainment Network. But folks, before we continue, if you have any prayer requests, you can text 254-356-6678. Matthew Stafford, 19 for 30, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So he has 5 touchdowns to 1 interception on the year. For the first 2 games, averaging 2.5 passing touchdowns per game. Sony Michel is already having a small effect, even if it doesn't show up in terms of 15 carries or 20 carries. Just because a running back doesn't have 15 carries for 137 yards and 4 touchdowns doesn't mean that running back wasn't effective for the offense. Sometimes running backs may not have the numbers overall to completely show it as an elite running back, but he made the plays, he made the third and shorts, he made the quick plays to be effective for the Rams, which is why he had 13 carries for 53 yards, for 4.1 yards per carry, for 4.6 yards per carry in this game, only 10 attempts. So if you see this recipe for the Rams, you obviously lose Malcolm Brown for the entire year, and the 20 ACL is unfortunate for the Los Angeles Rams offense with all that talent at the receiver position, at the tight end position. You got Darrell Henderson, trades for Sony Michel here. Robert Woods got 2 tenths on the day. Matthew Stafford got 2 tenths on the day. You're going to get the other running backs involved. You're going to see continue Matthew Stafford evolve as a quarterback. Even if it doesn't completely show up in the numbers here, this offense is going to be interesting moving forward. Yeah, and it's just 2 games, but I still pick the Los Angeles Rams to win this division. I said this before the season started, and I continue to say this right now. I believe the Los Angeles Rams and the NFC West. That's going to be a close game or 2 between either the Seahawks or maybe another team in that division. Look at the Colts side of this. Carson Wentz. It wasn't bad. 20 for 31, 247 yards, touchdown and a pick. Really, the question is moving forward. Do the Indianapolis Colts need Carson Wentz to be 100%? Like, how this offense is a mystery. It's not bland or boring or non-interesting. Interesting is, how is this Colts offense going to be moving forward? Tennessee won in overtime. We'll talk about that here in just a couple of games. How are the Colts going to adapt in week 3, week 4, coming closer to postseason? Can the Indianapolis Colts count on and trust Carson Wentz to stay healthy to help them get to that playoff push? Or is Jacob Eason going to have to come in for a game or 2 or 3? Can we trust Carson Wentz to stay healthy? That is remained to be determined. Fortunately, it didn't work out for the Colts like they wanted when they lost 27-24 against Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. A very interesting game. Las Vegas Raiders versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know, I understand the haters of Derek Carr. They want a new quarterback. Gruden is like, okay, Gruden, you got to get this going. We got to get to the playoffs. We got to make some momentum coming into the playoffs, make a big statement in this game. Derek Carr over 300 passing yards. Just look at it from the Las Vegas Raiders offensive side of things, folks. And let me know if you can hear me on the day, if the audio is any good at all. Christy Wilson goes in to say, I have no faith in Wentz in staying healthy throughout the season. And Christy, we're on the same page. I think a lot of organizations are. I think the Colts are. We need to be realistic. If Carson Wentz can't stay healthy, how does that really change the AFC South? Because remember, the Titans took it to overtime. The Texans are 1-1 on the year. The Texans are a much better team. Obviously, they're not going to make the playoffs or get 6-7 wins, but they're playing much better. Tyrod Taylor is starting to get a lot better. But you look at it here now. If Carson Wentz can't stay healthy, and even if Carson Wentz can stay healthy, how is that offense going to be? How is the offense better and better going to be? Just so many comments, questions, or concerns. Christy Wilson, I couldn't agree more. I am on the same page with you. I cannot trust Carson Wentz to stay healthy. Go a full 17 and now 18-week NFL season, and he stay healthy. They help the Colts make that playoff push. Again, folks, NFL Sunday post-game show on the God Over Money Entertainment Network. We're going to the Las Vegas Raiders, Pittsburgh Steelers side of this game. And folks, we will actually be right back after this quick commercial break. We are back here at some technical issues. We will get back into the game here, the Las Vegas Raiders. I know it's just 2 games, but the last 2 years, 2 or 3 seasons, Derek Carr is a consistent passer. Derek Carr, the last 2 or 3 seasons, have thrown for over 4,000 plus yards. So for fans or haters to say that Derek Carr, obviously part of the problem, I can understand. To solely blame Derek Carr, the Raiders not making the playoffs, is absolutely insane. Yes, TJ Watt did come out earlier in this game with an injury. Hopefully he's okay. Derek Carr threw for almost 400 yards, 382 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw for 4 touchdowns last week with an interception. So like 6 touchdowns, 1 interception on the year so far. Correct me, folks, if I'm wrong on the stats. I mean, my goodness. I understand TJ Watt is literally that bread and butter for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. But with that being said, Derek Carr was able to take advantage of that. Offensive line was able to take advantage of that. Without TJ Watt, this defense is maybe not as talented or as intimidating. Took advantage of that 382 yards passing, 2 touchdowns on the day. Peyton Barber with 13 carries, 32 yards here. Derek Carr and Kenny Drake ineffective on the day, with only 1.3 yards per carry. So moving forward, I don't know the status of Josh Jacobs. So can Josh Jacobs come back? This can help the team. Josh Jacobs gets involved in the running and in the passing attack. So if in case Henry Ruggs gets injured and you need another type great runner, you have Josh Jacobs. Going to the Steelers side of this. We know either one last week. Defense, TJ Watt played phenomenal week 1. 27-40, 295, but a touchdown and a pick. Into the first 2 games, it's just 2 games. So any fantasy football owners, let's not panic. With 3.8 yards a carry. Now, anybody, Najee Harris in his games. He's a rookie. It is 2 games. Najee Harris is going to be a Pro Bowl, future All-Pro for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But right now, for the first 2 games, he's been ineffective as a running back. Hasn't necessarily helped this offense here. Juju Smith with a touchdown. The Steelers had some great moments. But it wasn't enough because Derek Carr and this offense took advantage of a non-TJ Watt factor, which is why, out of many reasons why the Las Vegas Raiders won this game. Let's not we act like Derek Carr has a Tyrod Taylor type of arm. Derek Carr has a great arm. Just because he doesn't have a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson type of arm doesn't mean he can't throw and sling the football. We saw it last year against the Chiefs. We saw it this past week against the Ravens. Going to be solid today against the Pittsburgh Steelers, throwing for almost 400 yards yet again in another game. So let's pump the brakes just a little bit, folks, on the hate of Derek Carr. Again, it is just 2 weeks in the season, so anything can happen overall. Chicago Bears just barely defeated the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals win last week. I mean, my goodness, talk about turnover machines here for the Bears here. Roquan Smith had a pick 6. I mean, let's continue to break it down. Let's go to the Bengals. The Bears defense not only embarrassed Joe Burrow, spanked Joe Burrow. 3 interceptions, 19 for 30, only 207 passing yards. The problem is, regardless of what we think of the Bears defense, I said this again, and I will continue to say it, and other NFL fans can agree with me. The Bengals gave Joe Burrow what he wanted instead of the Bengals needed to give Joe Burrow what he needed. What he wanted was Jamar Chase. You got Jamar Chase. What he needed was an offensive line. I'm saying that's not the only factor in this game. 1 interception, I'll go, okay, Joe Burrow, that's not your fault. But you need that stable offensive. Carson Palmer knows that. I've talked to him. I've talked to many people around the league. They know that you have to have the offensive line. I mean, my goodness. Joe Mixon, 3.5 yards a carry, ineffective in the running game. Offensive line still isn't not really there. Defense and the Bears. Andy Dalton played so bad. Unfortunately, gets injured and came back. Justin Fields started in this first game. So this is why we say do not rush your rookie. This is just part of one game, but it's against the Bengals. So let's pump down the brakes. Justin Fields will be the starter, will be the franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Either it's fully this season or next year. But the problem is with the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields the Bears do not have the right head coach or the right GM. For Justin Fields to have success, obviously you bring back with him Allen Robinson. You need to fire Ryan Pace, and you need to fire Matt and Aggie. He should never be calling the offensive play calls for the Chicago Bears. We saw it last year. We saw it in week 1 when you won a 4th and 4 on back-to-back drives. Christian Wilson kind of has a similar opinion when talking about Derek Carr. Derek Carr has always been pretty good. I just feel that he has no support from the head coach. And I agree. And I know it's weird being like a Derek Carr fan. Maybe a Broncos fan for life. Again, sorry folks, we have technical issues here. But Derek Carr, who act like he's a bomb. He can't throw football. When we see with certain quarterbacks, the numbers show for themselves. So I'm going to present that same argument yet again for Derek Carr. The numbers show for himself. If you really go that far, let's go that far for Derek Carr, because I'm a defender of things that are right, that need to be corrected. If you really want to go down Derek Carr stats, 2018, 4,000 yards, 2019, 4,000 yards, 2020, 4,000 yards. Despite in 2020 having Josh Jacobs out for multiple games, with Henry Ruggs having a ton of injuries in 2020. Still threw for over 4,100 yards. Still threw for 27 touchdowns. 48 touchdowns combined from 2019 and 2020. So averaging 24 touchdowns in 2019 and 24 touchdowns in 2020. Despite losing Josh Jacobs for a couple of games, despite losing your top pick in Henry Ruggs. But yet we would have put most of the blame on Derek Carr. 817 yards through the first 2 games of this season. 4 touchdowns to 1 pick. Now I'm only saying that to prove part of the point. I don't understand the hate on Derek Carr. And you say Chris says the Bears played nicely today. They definitely did on defense. Now Justin Fields, obviously he can be like a more thrilling game manager moving forward next year. Because even if, like you say, Matt gets fired in week 5, even if they fire him in week 5, the identity of the offense is going to be a mess. They're not going to make the playoffs. We'll see what happens with the Packers and Lions next week. The Vikings lose in overtime, and we lose towards the end of the game on a missed field goal. We will talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Bears defense playing great. That's never been an issue. It's the offense. Some people want to paint Mitchell Trubisky as a bust. No worries, you rather have Mitchell Trubisky or Justin Fields, just on the prospect alone. I picked Justin Fields over Mitchell Trubisky. Now, was Mitchell Trubisky all the problem? No. We can talk about that another thing. What's not an issue, really, for the Chicago Bears is their running attack. David Montgomery and Justin Fields together have 30 carries. David Montgomery has 61 yards, 3.1 yards on the game. on the day. Now, obviously, moving forward, he has to be more productive in his carries and be more useful, being more useful in the passing game. The offense moving forward for the Chicago Bears is going to be kind of messy. Just because if you fire Matt Nagy in week 5, just like I agree with Christy Wilson, you're going to have Justin Fields come in for a little bit. Andy Dalton, the Bears are going to have an interim head coach. So that doesn't smell playoff success. That doesn't smell NFC championship games. That doesn't smell playoff wins. So you have it with the Chicago Bears moving forward, but the Chicago Bears just narrowly defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17 on the day here, this next game. It is a victory for the Browns. The problem is 2 things here, or maybe 3 things if you want to over-exaggerate. Well, Jarvis Landry, yes, is the Cleveland Browns' #1 receiver, clear out. But with Jarvis Landry being out, Baker Mayfield made a lot of mistakes in this game. Baker Mayfield, I believe, had an interception on the day. That's something he cannot do moving forward. Even though, like I said, defense, running game, he led Baker Mayfield over 250, 300 yards a game, you'll be just fine. But it wasn't necessarily, he was 19 for 21. So in terms of completions and attempts, very accurate on the day. But the problem is, for some reason, once Jarvis Landry gets out and is injured, Baker Mayfield tends to forget how to play quarterback. While this was a win for the Cleveland Browns, and so many injuries on both sides, especially for the Texans. Tyrod Taylor had a hip injury. You brought in Davis Mills, and he stuck it out just like against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that preseason game, the last game of the preseason in NRG Stadium for the Houston Texans. Either the Cleveland Browns need Jarvis Landry to come back very quick. But the key is not to rush your starting receiver. But even if you bring back Jarvis Landry, is Baker Mayfield going to be that guy? Yes, he's your quarterback moving forward. The problem is, let's say Jarvis Landry is out for 3 to 4 games. Can the Cleveland Browns offense trust Baker Mayfield to not turn the ball over? Because the problem is, you can't always rely on Nick Chubb to run the football for you. You can't always rely on Nick Chubb to save the day for you. Because sooner or later, Nick Chubb is going to get tired. Kareem Hunt is going to get tired. The third string running back is going to get tired. Sooner or later in games, the Cleveland Browns are going to have to rely on Baker Mayfield. But if Jarvis Landry is out, can the Cleveland Browns rely on Baker Mayfield solely to win the game with this arm? Who knows, folks? Here, but for the Houston Texans, injuries upon injuries and a lot of unluck here. I wish the best for Tyrod Taylor moving forward, and hopefully he can come back. What I say here, folks, for this next game, key NFC South matchup, is that was this a fluke? Last week, the New Orleans Saints embarrassed the Green Bay Packers. Not just on defense, but on offense. I mean, my goodness, Jameis Winston last week had almost 150 passing yards on the day with 5 touchdowns. But I said, folks, this week is going to be a test. Was it just a fluke, or Jameis Winston and the Saints for real? Now, if they played against a team like the Bucs or the Bears or a couple other really good teams, I can understand. Okay, you played against a good team, played very well. Not just that. You played against the Carolina Panthers. No disrespect to Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson, and Christian McCaffrey. You played against the Panthers, who we're not sure. Could they be the surprise team of the season? What's their season going to be like? How is their defense going to play overall? They're 2-0 on the year so far. Second best team in the division. Playing 1,000 times better than Atlanta. Obviously playing much better than the other team in the division against the New Orleans Saints. This was a must-win. This was a bigger must-win for the Saints than it was the Panthers, because, again, Sam Darnold may not be the future for the Carolina Panthers. Who knows? Depending on what happens this year, there could be a lot of criticism here. Now, the Saints played like the Packers, the Bucs. I could understand maybe having a struggling game. You play against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Matty Ice. You played against the Panthers. This is not the 2015 Panthers. This is not the Panthers that went to 2 Super Bowls. This is not the Panthers that played against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. This is the Cam Newton MVP-led Panthers. They got smacked. They got destroyed. And I said, if any indication of last week, Albert, it's going to be a fluke. Or Jameis Winston is ready to take over for the Saints. Now, think about this, folks. And maybe I'm being because of what happened with the Denver Broncos today. If Teddy Bridgewater was a part of the Saints this year and was playing against the Panthers and was the Saints starting quarterback, the Saints would have won that game. The Saints would have been played a bit more productive. They would have played it much better. They would have scored more than 7 points. 11 to 22, 50% completion percentage, 111 yards, 2 picks on the day. And you say, oh, no, LASIK surgery is supposed to help for Jameis Winston. They're supposed to reinvent him as a quarterback. Well, I'm just judging on this game alone. Jameis Winston, 50% completion percentage, 111 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks on the day. If the Saints even match 25% of that offensive production, they're not making the playoffs. So I may say, oh, they're for real, they're for real. Well, they're for real. Why couldn't they be Carolina Panthers? They're much more talented on defense than the Carolina Panthers. They're much more talented on offense with Alvin Kamara and Tre'Quan Smith. And you have your tight end. You have much more talent on the offensive defense than the Carolina Panthers. But yet, the Carolina Panthers who have a very good offense, but aren't as talented on paper as the Saints, beat and destroyed the Saints 26-7. Sam Darnold, 26 for 38, 305 yards and 2 touchdowns to 1 interception on the day. What is key is that there are going to be a lot of potential conversations in the 2022 offseason for the Saints. But based on how Atlanta played, that doesn't help the Saints moving forward. Yes, it's just 2 weeks. Based on how the Bucs destroyed the Atlanta Falcons today, which isn't a surprise scoring, it was 50 points on the day. With how the Falcons are playing, with the Panthers winning today, this makes your playoff chances or better playoff chances in week 3 much more difficult. So maybe, folks, it's just for the first 2 weeks. Are the Carolina Panthers the surprise team in the NFL in 2021? Again, folks, are the Carolina Panthers the surprise team in the NFL in 2021? Go to their next game here. Wow, what an exciting game. Thank you, Kyler Murray, in fantasy football. Vikings are going to march down the field. Their offense is coming back in this game. Kyler Murray had 4 total touchdowns. Kirk Cousins and his offense marched down the field, get the touchdown. Going to get the field goal to tie it to go into overtime. Not only, obviously, they scored a touchdown, but not only they miss the field goal, they lose the game in the close one. Who lets them down? Yet again, what is it? What is the story for the Minnesota Vikings that lets down for their team? What's the same story? Is it the offense? No. Defense. You went 2 for 3. In this game, the Vikings kicker had to go 3 for 3 because you can't afford any tiny mistakes and missed kicks or missed offensive production because there's the Cardinals here who this is a big win for them. Now moving forward, I don't think a lot of people question the offensive production for the Arizona Cardinals, but here is the thing. Can Cliff Kingsbury keep this momentum going forward? He couldn't in 2020, going 6-2, losing the last. He went 8-8, lost. Went 2-6 for the rest of the season, effectively missing the playoffs. Before this year, can Cliff Kingsbury prove that he is the guy in Arizona? Can he keep his own job out of the hot seat? Kirk Cousins, though, played phenomenal. 22 for 32, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions on the day, though. Vance Joseph for the defense coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals was phenomenal here. Dalvin Cook played great. 22 for 131, no touchdowns, though. It was very effective. It was very effective with 6 yards per carry. But on the fantasy football side of this, for the Arizona Cardinals, thank you, Kyler Murray, for getting me so many points in fantasy football. One league laughed at me. Oh, you took Kyler Murray first overall. That is insane. That's going to be the dumbest pick of the year. They laughed at me. But through 2 games, Kyler Murray, he had 3 touchdowns in this game. Last week, I believe he had 2 or 3 touchdowns on the day. Here's the problem, though, with Kyler Murray. I love him as a quarterback. Through the first 2 or 3 quarters, he'll play great. He'll have like 15 to 20, 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. But like he can't be consistent throughout 4 quarters. 3.5 quarters, he'll have no interceptions, 2 touchdowns, over 250 passing yards. And then towards the end of the 3rd quarter of games, he tends to make those mistakes and tends to turn over the football. And that could cost Arizona Cardinals later in the year, especially with whatever offensive scheme is going to be, especially when who knows if Cliff Kingsbury is the right coach. I give full credit, though. This was a very close and fun game, and the Minnesota Vikings did keep it close. But overall, at the end of the day, what happens again, the Minnesota Vikings special teams lets them down in a big NFC game once again. This next one here, folks, do I really have to say much? It's the Atlanta Falcons versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think no legit fan would honestly pick the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta was only down by 3. Only down. It was 28-25. You're down by 3. One of the Bucs did. They scored 2 or 3 more scores than effectively in the Falcons' chance of winning that game. You got embarrassed by Jalen Hurts on defense in week 1. You thought the Falcons defense played bad against Jalen Hurts, second-year quarterback. How effective do you think the Atlanta Falcons defense was going to be against Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, Cam Brate, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, this whole offense? There was no way the Atlanta Falcons defense, with who on the interior or passive defensive line, was going to beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Technical difficulties, but we are back here, folks. Such a fun game, but also it's one of those games, you know the outcome. They take it seriously. It's an NFC South rivalry. We're looking at in the NFC South. Tampa Buccaneers 2-0. Carolina Panthers 2-0. Atlanta Falcons 0-2. The Saints 1-1. So through the first 2 weeks, this division is tamed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. Now, obviously, if the Carolina Panthers, when they play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're obviously going to get destroyed. It is Tom Brady. Not just because there's Tom Brady, you got that stacked team. Not much else to say. Not a shocking outcome. They scored almost 50 points against the Atlanta Falcons defense. This next game here, folks, as we get a couple more games left here on the NFL Sunday post-game show. Again, folks, at any point, either during the program or randomly during the week or at night, if you have any prayer requests, you can text 254 or actually email GodOverMoneySportsNetwork@gmail.com. It is GodOverMoneySportsNetwork@gmail.com. You know, prayers are never too embarrassing. We are here for you. God is never going to give up on you. Do not give up on him. But wow, folks, what a game. Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks. It goes into overtime. Derrick Henry with a tying touchdown. Going into overtime, the Tennessee Titans special teams came in the clutch. The problem is, though, for the Tennessee Titans, especially for their offense, aka offensive line, Ryan Tannehill keeps getting sacked. Ryan Tannehill keeps getting hit. If you just look at the numbers for how many times has Ryan Tannehill get sacked, let's look at it this for Ryan Tannehill. I mean, this team is going to be phenomenal this year. But if Ryan Tannehill keeps getting sacked the amount of times that he is getting hit, the amount of times that he is, I'm not sure how the Titans moving forward can in that division But you can't say that with Carson Wentz, knowing that he can't be 100%, knowing the Texans are going to be a dumpster fire this year. The Tennessee Titans have a lot of hope moving forward. It is a win. They won the game. But despite them winning this game moving forward, the offensive line has to be more consistent, has to have more firepower if they want a chance to be first place in this division. Yeah, I say so far it could be between one game at the end of the season between the Colts and the Titans. But who are you going to trust to stay 100% healthy? Folks, that is going to be an easy question and even an easy answer. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry showed why he's the best running back. 35 carries, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns with 5.2 yards per carry. We know this team can be very effective. We know against the running game, we know it's super hard to tackle Derrick Henry. Again, like I said, Jamal Adams cannot play the entire defense for the Seattle Seahawks. The interior defense line for Seattle has to step up. But now, they allowed Derrick Henry to get the ball 35 times, 182 yards. 182 yards, same issue that has been for this team. The offensive line, and the interior defensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. Well, it may not show up in week 2, week 3. Sooner or later, the lack of offensive weapons in terms of the offensive line will show up later in the season for Seattle. If the defense cannot produce, it gives maybe a better chance of the Los Angeles Rams winning the NFC West. Folks, I made a prediction last Wednesday on No BS that the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be a very good game for the Cowboys and for the Chargers. But even then, the Chargers were extremely undisciplined in this game. I mean, literally, the Chargers had 9 to 10 penalties for 100 yards. If you have 100 yards in penalties, you deserve to lose this game. Well, despite the penalties, though, what I saw, just even seeing it from Justin Herbert's point of view, we're looking at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has a phenomenal arm. Even though the 40-plus yard kick to the receiver on the day was a flat, Justin Herbert has an arm. He can sling the football down the field. I can see him winning MVPs in the future. I can see him winning playoff games for the Chargers. Maybe not this season or a couple of years from now, but he will win playoff games in the future for the Los Angeles Chargers. But in this game, so many penalties for the Cowboys, for the Chargers, and all it came down to was a field goal. Almost 60-yard field goal. There's no way it's going to go into overtime. Chargers are going to win. But no, the Cowboys come back, march the ball down the field, and effectively give the kicker the chance to. Last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was ineffective. It was one of the reasons why the Cowboys lost against the Bucs. This week, Greg Zuerlein was one of the reasons why the Dallas Cowboys won this game. This last one here, folks, as I said in the beginning of the show. Wow. What a game. What a game. I am willing to admit that I'm wrong when it comes to a football take, or wrong about a quarterback. The Ravens shocked. The Ravens stunned the world. 4th down, a couple yards to go. They're going to get the field goal. They give the Chiefs 25, 30, 45 seconds left in the game. That's too much time. The Ravens go for it on 4th down, make it and end the game. Despite multiple turnovers by different quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson proved me wrong. Lamar Jackson proved he can compete against the best right now. Now, obviously, the AC West is going to be very exciting this year. But looking at it from the Ravens side, I want to give a ton of praise to Lamar Jackson and this offense. Despite Lamar Jackson turning the ball over 2 times, this is what separates the decent quarterbacks from the great quarterbacks. Despite your shortcomings in terms of having a bunch of turnovers, Lamar Jackson was able to overcome those adversities in this game. I don't know what the Chiefs defense was thinking. You're at the 1-2 yard line. Don't forget about Lamar Jackson. You're about to tie the game, about to make you be up by 1 point. They completely forget about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has the easy 1.5 yard run and cartwheel. The Ravens should celebrate tonight. The Ravens should party. They proved me wrong. Johnny hit fix. No. They just won the game. Lamar Jackson overcame the adversaries. Lamar Jackson threw the football very well. Despite his turnovers with 2 interceptions on the day, potentially fumbling the football, Lamar Jackson can't throw the football. He is improving as a passer. And at least as of right now, I was wrong about the Ravens in this game. Now moving forward, get playoff success, that's a whole other story. Who knows at the end of the day? What if? No way, no how. Here's even the biggest thing. The Baltimore Ravens defense forced a fumble against Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which set up that Ravens non-official game-winning touchdown. When I am wrong about a team, about a quarterback, I fully admit that. Patrick Mahomes had 104 more passing yards, 2 more touchdowns, 6 more attempts, 6 more completions, and he still lost. Because here's the thing: the Baltimore Ravens interior defensive line was able to, that play though, and they believe it was one of the rookies, to able to force the incompletion against Tyreek Hill. That set a whole nother tone. That set a whole other set of emotions that felt to help the Ravens. I have no reason against for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens from being happy. It's exciting. It's thrilling. And Tavis Murray couldn't be stopped. 9 carries, 4.0 yards per carry, a touchdown. Lamar Jackson, they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. That same story that's been for the NFL. Can't stop Lamar as a runner. Lamar is improving as a passer. Even if it doesn't show in the turnovers just yet, he's going to improve as a passer. As of right now for week 2, I was wrong about the Ravens in this game. I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to win the game, and Lamar Jackson was the reason why I went 12-3 on the week 2 NFL predictions so far on the day. Of course, we picked the Green Bay Packers to effectively end week 2, which would make me 14-3. But I'm happy for the Ravens. I'm happy for Lamar Jackson. This is a huge win to a team that has been back-to-back Super Bowls. To where it was 3, Lamar Jackson hasn't beat Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, and he never will. I believe I said that multiple times, that Patrick Mahomes will not lose against the Ravens in the regular season, much less the playoffs. And Lamar Jackson will never beat Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. It's not a competition. Guess what, folks? It just now became a competition. All props, all excitement to the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson played phenomenal. 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 touchdowns on the day. Tyson Williams, 70-70. And I give you more credit to Doug Harbaugh and the Ravens organization here. Despite losing your 2 running backs on the year, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, you bring in Murray, you bring in Devontae Freeman. Lamar Jackson ran the ball 16 times and wasn't afraid to get hit a couple times later in the game. Calm under pressure, celebrated without a doubt. But that gutsy call is like, there's no way Harbaugh should go for it. There's no way Harbaugh should go for it on 4th down. You're giving the Chiefs too much ammo. Well, guess what? I was 100% wrong about that. I'm glad that I just went for it. That was the game-winning official play for the Baltimore Ravens to dethrone Chiefs in week 2, 36-35. There's not much else to say, but I am just wowed by how hard Lamar Jackson fought, despite the adversaries on offense, despite the mistakes on offense. came back in to win this game. I give Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens organization full credit. But without further ado, folks, as we do in every single program here on the network, let's go into today's final thoughts. Folks, it's John Allcorn here on the Daily God of Money Entertainment Network. I want to thank you so much, Chrissy Wilson, for staying out late to tuning in into the hour-long NFL Sunday post-game show. Again, folks, here I am effectively taking a leave of absence from the MSX Sports Network. We're going to get the network forming, starting a new job. I will be back. The goal is September 2022. But I want to thank Callum. I want to thank everybody at the MSX Sports Network for giving me an opportunity, having my career grow, learning how to make and edit trailers, all of that. And I truly thank y'all. And I can't wait to come back stronger than ever for the MSX Sports Network on a reduced role. But John Allcorn, don't do 2020 out from the MSX Sports Network. We will see y'all September 2022. John Allcorn, the John Allcorn Show. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.
Nobody works harder. Nobody loves sports and is more passionate about it than this guy, John Allcorn. So thank you.
But man, keep up the good work, man. I like your style.
I don't know if I've seen someone with the drive and passion to make it in the industry like I've seen with you. Cutthroat. It's very, up and down roller coaster of emotion.
He knows his stuff. He's not afraid to go at people.
Well, last time I checked, this is not the Los Angeles LeBron.